Good morning. I'm Amanda Hansen here at the Action News 5 digital desk. You know, we've talked a lot about the housing market. Rent prices here in Memphis have gotten so high over the past year and a half. A lot of people paying $1,600 just to get a one-bedroom apartment around town, making things pretty difficult. But we want to take a look at what the latest trends are right now. We're heading into the winter months, and joining us now is John Leckie here at the Action News 5 digital desk with Rent. John, how you doing? Can you hear me?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing good. So I am someone that actually recently purchased a home. It's been a week now since we've closed on the house, but a lot of people have been resorting to renting. It was difficult to find houses when the housing market was stretched. There weren't many houses to be able to supply the demand. Rent prices were driven up because of that, kind of creating that domino effect. So what are we seeing right now as far as those rent prices go, both nationally, and if you can maybe touch on what it's like here in the Mid-South around the Memphis area?
Yeah, well, the bad news is that rents are up. Certainly year over year, rents are up. The good news is that month over month, rents are actually down, and our yearly increases are also starting to moderate. And that's true at a national level. That's true within the Memphis metro as well.
And what about when it comes to like people that maybe are homeowners? They maybe thought about trying to sell their home, but maybe resorting to renting it out instead. Is that something that y'all are seeing more of, where people are saying, you know what, we might be able to make more income being able to rent this monthly than struggling to try to get somebody to purchase the house since prices are going down? What are you seeing?
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of that, and that's actually one reason why some of the rents are coming down. Is that the housing market is starting to cool, and if more people are renting out their homes instead of selling them, that's also going to create more rental supply. Listings for housing in Memphis are down about 7% year over year. That's the lowest level it's been since in the last 4 years. The median sale prices are up a little bit, about 2% year over year, and that's the highest it's been in 4 years. But it's still down from the peaks we saw sort of in mid 2022. And another good measure of sort of the hotness of the housing market is, how many homes are going off the market in 2 weeks. And so we're seeing about 30% off the market in 2 weeks. And that's still up year over year, but it's trending down from where it was this time last year.
It's been interesting for me because as someone that has been looking at houses and things like that, I've obviously been on Zillow, I've been on Realtor, and it's been interesting kind of watching a lot of these house prices because it seems like they'll start at one price, they'll drop it, then they'll bring it back up, and I feel like it seems like they're having a hard time trying to figure out that perfect medium since there's less demand, or starting to be less demand. Of course, those interest rates are going up. Is that something you think that you're seeing some too?
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely a lot less demand. I think there's less demand for home buying because of those interest rates. Interest rates are sort of at record highs right now, things we haven't seen in probably a generation. But we're also seeing less demand for rental housing, and I think some of that's due to some of these big increases we've seen. There's only so much people are able or willing to pay. We're seeing a lot of people also kind of couple up into roommate situations where they can, and so all that's pulling back on demand and starting to drop the prices. But if you signed your lease a year ago, you're still going to see a pretty significant increase.
At least it's nice to say that maybe something is starting to go down a little bit. Inflation has been insane. A lot of people have been struggling. So it's nice to see this trend going in a direction that maybe is going to be more beneficial for people, even though it's still high. What are you kind of maybe anticipating over the next couple of months? Is that trend, do you think, going to continue some?
Yeah, well, there's some seasonality to rents, and I think we're getting back to that. Rents tend to sort of dip in the fall and the winter, and sort of take off again in the spring and in the summer months. And we haven't really seen that the last 2 years because of COVID, the way it sort of interrupted the market. But these dips we're seeing are from October numbers, and so that's right in line with sort of traditional when those rents start to drop. So hopefully rents will continue to sort of drop, or at least moderate through the colder months, and then we'll kind of see what the housing market is doing in the spring and summer to see if those rents come back up, or if they kind of continue to flatten out.
Well, John, it's always interesting for me to kind of talk about this topic. I have been a long-time renter, so of course it's impacted me, the rent prices and things like that. Anything else that really stood out to you that you want to make sure we mention before we let you go?
I think the big way I think particularly Memphis is going to solve this problem is to build some more. You get more supply out there for people, so they have more options. And when you look at sort of building permits in Memphis, Memphis is building at pretty low levels it hasn't seen since the bottom of the 1990s recession. Sort of began to drop off in sort of the mid 2000s as the housing bubble burst. It never really recovered. So I think it's great now that some of these prices are starting to come down. But if we want to solve this problem sort of long term, I think we really got to build some more.
Definitely interesting perspective there, specifically for Memphis. I didn't know that, so that's something that I'm learning today. John, we appreciate you. We always enjoy bringing y'all on from Rent, and you have a great morning, all right?
You too. Thanks so much for having me.